Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review YouTube channel for the press conference reaction, which of course took place earlier this morning with Eddie Howe and the media, ahead of the game with Manchester United tomorrow night, which is, of course, an 8 o'clock kickoff, match day live starting right here on the Toon Review at 7:30 with half an hour's build-up, including team news, etc., and then full commentary of the game, of course, kicking off at 8. But obviously, Eddie's had some things to say this morning and brought us up to date with some of the injuries, etc. So we'll take a look at what that is all about as well. But if you do enjoy the show, please do give it the thumbs up. And, of course, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please do subscribe. Free to do so. And, of course, hit that bell, which will let you know when we go live or upload any videos. Of course, you can become a member of the Toon Review by hitting the join button just underneath myself. And, of course, you can donate to the channel if you do so wish by hitting that $sign at the bottom of the live comments. And that will guarantee your comment to be read out live on the show. Right, just some pre-season news, first of all, before we go into the press conference. Newcastle United have, of course, announced this morning that they will be doing a pre-season tour in Japan. This had been rumoured for a while now. Lots of different reports in the media that Newcastle were looking at Japan as a destination. They were thinking about possibly going back to the United States. But, of course, Newcastle are trying to expand across world football now and become one of these huge sides that we know that Premier League sides can be. And the fact that we're visiting Japan is a country that is massively into its football, massively following the Premier League as well. We've had some Japanese stars over here. Of course, Muto played for us. Well, sort of played for us a few years back. But I think it's a good move. It's a good move to go to the Far East. A lot of bigger clubs have done that. You know, you look at the Manchester Cities of the world, Real Madrids and Barcelonas. They've all visited the Far East. And I think it's a good tour. It's a very good opportunity for Newcastle to spread the wings as a football club. So I'm particularly all for it, me. I think it'll be fantastic. So, yeah. They head out there at the end of July, of course, ahead of the new season. Eddie did speak a little bit about it in his press conference as well. He is looking forward to going. He was asked about the Australian trip, which, of course, they go next week. And let's just say he wasn't as enthusiastic talking about Australia than he was talking about, of course, the Far East in pre-season. I think the Australian trip is... I don't agree with it myself. I think the players need to get away, especially after the season that we've had with injuries, etc. But you know what? This is what football is now. It's about earning money. It's about bringing revenue to the football club. And, you know, it's about our club being seen across the world. And we know we've got a lot of fans in Australia. We've got a lot of subscribers from Australia. So for them, it's going to be a wonderful opportunity to see Newcastle United. So for them, I'm happy for them, of course. Stephen says, I feel like they focused more on Manchester United with the questions than they did Newcastle, which kind of annoyed me. Yeah, look, I've watched the video one as well as got the quotes up. When I was watching that video, there was some reporters did sort of focus on Manchester United. What do you think of the pressure that's on Erik ten Hag and things like that? And Eddie, to be fair to him, he didn't sort of get annoyed with the questions. He just answered them and said, well, you know, all the Premier League managers are in the same situation as Ten Hag. You know, the pressure is on. And that's exactly what happened in Eddie with what he said. So I haven't got a problem with it. But look, it's Manchester United. A lot of reporters are going to focus on just them, aren't they? Because it's Man United. And, of course, they'd get rather upset if we didn't speak about Manchester United. Do you think we'll sign a Japanese player and announce it out there? Well, I mean, Kubo's been linked with us a couple of times, hasn't he? And he is certainly a player I would love to see come to Newcastle United, without a shadow of a doubt. He is one of the players that I would absolutely adore at Newcastle. Do I think we'll sign him? I think it costs a lot of money. But at the same time, you just never know. You just never know. Mark says, I wonder if we're lining up a move for Kubo. There you go. Before the trip to Japan to boost our worldwide fans like we're doing with Kubo and Australia. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? I mean, Kubo is a fantastic player. We've done him in a transfer show before. He's going to cost a lot of money, though. So let's not get ahead of ourselves or think that we're going to, just because we're going to Japan, we're signing this player and that player. I don't think it's going to work like that, guys. I think we have to be very careful about that. However, let's have a look at what Eddie Howe had to say this morning. His first comment was basically about the game. We find ourselves in this position and is where we deserve to be. We will be hoping to finish off these 2 games strongly. We must make sure our players go to Manchester United in really good spirits, confident and prepared. Our motivation is to qualify for Europe. I think certainly what came from the press conference this morning is that, Eddie did state numerous times that the players are fully focused and European football is where we want to be. Obviously, he was questioned about the Europa League and things like that, and he just brushed that aside and said, look, it's European football. And it's exactly what, we as a channel have been saying for a while now. It's important that we get European football. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's the Europa League, Conference League, or whatever league it may be. It's important that we as a football club get into Europe and continually get into Europe season after season after season. It is so important, guys. And I think Eddie reiterated that the players are fully focused on getting into Europe next season. And I can't wait. I really hope we do, because it's going to be another European adventure. Yes, it's not the Champions League, but it is a European adventure again. And, from what I've seen when I went to the Champions League games earlier on this season, the away fans are incredible. They generate an amazing atmosphere. And yes, you're not going to get the massive clubs that you would get in the Champions League, but these European fans are very passionate about their football club. So the atmospheres are still going to be incredible. So, yeah, Eddie's pretty much guaranteed the fans that he will reiterate to the players that this is very important to qualify for Europe. But like I said last night on the show, I really don't think that these players should be needing any motivation to go out there and perform for Newcastle. Never mind at Old Trafford. We've never finished above Manchester United, of course, in the Premier League. This is the perfect opportunity. It really is. We're not going to get a better one than this. So let's go out and do it. Jock says, when we go into the ground tomorrow, we are getting a free flotation device. Troll says, what scares me is if we don't have either Wilson or Isak, then we lose, in my opinion. We're going to come on to that, obviously. Peter says, with Isak and Wilson might not be fit, shows a striker has to be number one priority. Baz says, Wilson and Isak haven't trained seriously. We're going to talk about it because it is obviously... I've seen a few comments already coming in before we start the show about people just saying, it could be Eddie just spinning a yarn. That may be the case. However, I don't think Eddie would sit there and just barefaced lie. Yeah, he tends to sort of bend the truth a little bit regarding players' fitnesses because he doesn't want the opposition manager to find out. He doesn't want them to know what our tactics are or who's going to be fit to play. And that's fair enough. That's fair enough. That's the way Eddie goes. Now, what he did say on Isak and Wilson is Alex didn't train yesterday. We will see if he trains today. He wasn't feeling 100%. I think you could see that. We knew on Friday that he was slightly under the weather. We haven't seen Callum at all. We will see if he is available to train today. If not, we will have him for Brentford. Now, look, I've seen a lot of comments in social media today saying when Eddie made those comments about Callum Wilson, saying, all right, he's under the weather, right? He's not very well. But these are critical games for Newcastle United, these last 2 games of the season. And I've seen fans saying, is Callum's heart really in it to come back for these 2 games if he's not feeling it? I'm not sure how I feel on the Callum Wilson situation, to be honest, because Isak was pretty much, you could tell something was off with him on Saturday. There was no doubt about that. He just wasn't his usual self. Now, that obviously is a virus. Callum Wilson has the same illness, but slightly worse, apparently. So Callum Wilson, I don't think is going to be available for Manchester United. Look, I think Isak will play. Hand on heart, I really genuinely think Isak will play tomorrow. And we will have a striker. I know, again, there's been some people in the chat who've been worried, thinking that he's not going to be there. We're not going to have a striker on the field. I genuinely believe Isak will start the game. But that's an opinion, of course. I don't know for definite what's going on. But what I do know is that I don't think Callum Wilson will be seen tomorrow. And it's just really frustrating. I know he can't help being ill, right? And I just, you know, that nobody can help feeling ill or getting an illness or a virus or whatever it is. But it's just Callum Wilson again, isn't it? You know, he's back for a game or two and then he's gone again. And it doesn't matter whether it's a week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever, he's still missing. And it's really, really clinical. And, you know, Head Junk makes a point there saying you'd think Wilson would be chomping at the bit to play and try and get into the England squad. Now, it's an interesting fact, but has Callum Wilson been told that he's not going? You know, has he already had that conversation with Gareth Southgate? We don't know. And if that is the case, has Wilson just decided that, you know, I'm not well and I'm not going to put myself out for these, certainly for the Manchester United game. You know, that's been very harsh on Callum Wilson, and that is very much a flip side of the story. But it's just the fact that he's out, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't matter whether he's injured or it's illness. We've missed him so much this season, and it just continues to be the case. When he comes back, he looks really up for it. He looks good. He looks strong. He scores a couple of goals, and then he disappears again. So it is a real frustration, guys, undoubtedly. And us as Newcastle United fans, it's just something that we've had to get used to over time. And you know, it's still happening. It just isn't right. Rachel, good afternoon. Need a new striker and preferably a younger one as well. Neither need to have any injury in their history. Julie J says one of them will definitely play. Illnesses happen, especially with change of weather. Yes, I agree with that. You know, the weather does have a lot to do with it. When it's certainly over here, when it just chops and changes, my kids can pick up somebody sneezes and my kids pick up the cold. You know, the little viruses that go around at school and things like that. But you know, when these players are tip-top fit, you know, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I wouldn't know in a million years whether he's feeling well enough to run on a football pitch or not. But I know that illnesses, you can have debilitating illnesses where you've got a virus and you just can't get your head off the pillow kind of thing. And if that's the case, that may well be the problem with Callum Wilson. But the flip side of that is he's missing again. Simon Muller, thank you for being a member for 2 months on the channel. Much appreciated, my friend. Tomorrow's game will be harder than we expect. We need a point at least. Well, Manchester United, Ten Hag announced this morning that they're hoping to have Martinez back as centre-back tomorrow, which means he will probably line up alongside Evans. So Casemiro won't have to play centre-back. That's a blow to us because I believe Casemiro, we dance rings around that useless git. But he also mentioned the fact that Bruno Fernandes, etc., could make a late push. But I think he's again, like Eddie Howe does, is that just trying to throw us a little bit, thinking that Manchester United will have a bit more of a stronger team than what they have done in the last couple of games? It happens, and that's what managers do. They try and throw each other off the scent. So we'll take a look more at that in more detail, obviously, on the preview show tonight. Isak 16 goals away from Wilson for goals scored in the Premier League for Newcastle already. I don't want him at the club anymore. He is a liability and was willing to drop us in January when we had no striker. He has no loyalties to our club. I'm not sure about that. But listen, a lot of fans were a little taken aback with the way Callum Wilson did kind of push for his move to Atletico Madrid until Newcastle said, no, you're not going. We can't afford to lose you because of we can't bring anybody in. And a lot of fans haven't really forgotten about that. But for me, I think he is committed to the club. There's no doubt about that. But it's just something's not quite right. Wilson is the Cheshire Cat. You see him, then disappears in a puff of smoke. Mike says, yes, tomorrow's game will be tough, but for me, as long as we don't lose. That's imperative. And I've said that quite a few times. I think, we need not to lose the game. But the way Eddie plays and the way, Eddie speaks is that he goes out to win every football game. And I don't see anything different tomorrow. I think the major thing that we do in times is if we sit back against teams, that's when we're more of a liability to concede, because we tend to have these lapses in concentration where we concede silly goals. And I think we have to make sure that doesn't happen against Manchester United tomorrow. We need to be switched on the whole time. And when we, go at teams and really attack them, that is when we are at our very, very best. And I think that's how we have to play against Manchester United tomorrow, whoever's on the field. Julie said, read the other day that the Rat Bruno was back in training. Yeah, Ten Hag did mention that in his conference this morning. Ian says, we need a striker that will push on. Isak, who isn't going to be injured every other week. The more competition, the better for the benefit of the team. And of course, Callum Wilson coming back will push Isak even more, because Isak knows that if he's on the pitch and Callum Wilson's on the bench, Isak has to perform. That's just the same as any strikers at any club. They will push each other to be better. And I think that's what's got to happen at Newcastle United. And Wilson's not around enough to make that happen. I know Isak's had his injuries, but Wilson himself, I mean, we've had this for quite some time now. Wilson is the shadow. You know he's there, but hardly see him. Ekin says, Callum Wilson should be on a play-by-earn, just like a pay-as-you-go system. Simon says, I can't stand to listen to Goldbridge if we lose tomorrow. We're not going to lose. We're not going to lose. Let's be confident here. JT Toon says, I wonder if Fernandez starts, will Eddie stick Sean on him so he can't move, similar to what he did with Maddison against Spurs, providing Sean starts, of course. I think it's pretty obvious Sean will start, unless he brings Joe Linton in. I'll be very, very surprised if, actually, it'd be Anderson to drop out, wouldn't it, if he brings Joe Linton in. But he could go, look, he could change the formation. I'm not saying he will, but the players that he's got on the bench, could he possibly change the formation? Kelly says, do we only have to get 3 points to get to Europe? I believe if we get a point, and as long as Manchester United don't win the FA Cup, I think we get into Europe. I might be wrong, and someone might correct me in the chat with that, but I'm genuinely of the opinion that if we get I think it's a point, and Manchester United don't win the FA Cup, that is good enough for us to be into Europe. So, but listen, we don't want to go that avenue. We want to win the game, let's be honest. Chipper said we should be chomping at the bit tomorrow. First time ever to finish above Man United in the league with a win. Yeah, but Eddie did say this morning he's not going to use that as an incentive for the players. The incentive that he is going to use for the players is, of course, European football. I mean, that is, for me, that's more important than going into the dressing room saying, "Oh, right, lads, I know the Premier League been around since 90 whatever, and we've never finished above Manchester United. This is our chance." Or he'll use the European football. And for me, the European football route to motivate the players will be stronger. But I don't think they should need motivating tomorrow. A, they're playing Manchester United, and B, we're knocking on the door of Europe again. For me, they should not need motivating at all. Guys, please do keep hitting that like button if you are enjoying the stream. We need those likes up as big as we can. And, of course, bottom right-hand corner to subscribe if you are new to the channel. Novik says, more worrying is Rooney's comments over injuries, with all the injured suddenly turn up. Well, it would just be like Manchester United, just for suddenly the injuries to turn up, wouldn't it? But then again, we can't worry about what Manchester United are going to do. We have to worry about Newcastle United. And Eddie did make that statement this morning quite a few times when he was asked about certain Manchester United things. He did turn around and say, it's up to us. Why should we worry about Manchester United? We are, I think, a better team than Manchester United this season. So they're all over the place at the minute. And it's not like their injured players are going to come back and everything's going to be resolved. They've had problems all season, even the fully fit squad. So for me, I don't care about Manchester United. I care about Newcastle. And I care about where Newcastle United finish in the league. And I care about how they play tomorrow night, not Manchester United. We have to take care of our own business, as far as I'm concerned. Barry says, can't let go of a natural goal scorer in Wilson, even if he's injured. He will be a good backup if we have another striker. I don't think Callum Wilson's going to stick around for be third choice. If we do bring another striker in the summer, I do not think that Callum Wilson's going to hang around for, and be third striker. The stage he's at in his career now, I would expect Callum Wilson to move on, where he can still play first-team football when he's fit. I don't think third choice striker is where Callum wants to be. Julie says, Europa or Europa Conference, not that fussed, which we could easily win either one of those trophies. I agree. Ruffia Benisian says, yes, Paul, it is, but we need 6 to be sure. Don't lose to Man United and match Chelsea in points. Yeah, of course, Chelsea, you've got to go to Brighton. That's not an easy game. Certainly the way Brighton played against us, I expect them to give Chelsea a good game. It's not all done and dusted. And you know what it is? I see comments around from a lot of people saying that, the Premier League is not exciting anymore. Because Manchester City are going to win the league again. That's not definite yet. You look around all the other leagues in Europe. You look at Germany, you look at Spain, you look at France. Teams have ran away with the league. It's still very exciting in the Premier League right up until the last game, for European places and for the Championship. So, it's not that bad, is it? But listen, the people that run the game, they're the ones that are going to ruin it, not the football clubs themselves. Right, Eddie spoke on Nick Pope this morning as well, and he said Nick has come back from a serious injury, a big problem to a big area of the body for a goalkeeper. He has still been getting his rhythm back from the training work he has been doing. I am really pleased with how he's looked. He has continued to improve through training. Every game I have had a decision to make, and that will be another one. Now, that's probably the most Eddie Howe has ever said about Nick Pope in a press conference since he's been back. And I get the feeling, I don't know, let me know in the comments if you agree with this, but I think he's playing Nick Pope tomorrow. I get the feeling that what he said there is a sort of indication that Nick Pope will be back tomorrow. He did state this a few times, certainly during the press conference that I watched this morning. He did mention the goalkeeper situation a couple of times and how he's got a decision to make. And I genuinely think that Nick Pope needs to play tomorrow. And I know people will be worried saying, well, is he fully ready to go? Is he strong enough to start? Is his rustiness not going to be a problem? I don't think so. I think Eddie's held him back a little bit, as we know Eddie can do, just to make sure that now what he's saying there, he's very pleased with how he's looked in training, getting his sharpness back, etc. And when he said every game I have a decision to make and it will be another one, I think he plays tomorrow. I will be very, very surprised if we don't see Nick Pope starting goal tomorrow. Fubar Steve says, I'm sure if Spurs lose tonight and we win tomorrow, then we are 3 points behind Spurs with a better goal difference. Last game of the season could give us a slim chance of fifth. It could, but I think what we need to do, Steve, is just concentrate on tomorrow night. Get the result tomorrow night, and what will be in the other games. And we will see where we are going into the final game at Brentford on Sunday. It's going to be a very, very, very tight finish. There's no doubt about that. Niall says Pope needs to play to prove he can perform at this level after surgery. Chipper says, I think Eddie has finally showed he is frustrated with Dubs after seeing they were closely matched on Friday. Dubravka might get confused and start passing to the Man United players. Muck is a polite word, Niall. I can think of far more colourful words I'd use. Not sure what that's about. I would like to see Nick Pope in the last two games. I think everybody would. I don't really know many people that would want Dubravka to start tomorrow ahead of Nick Pope. I was worried watching Dubravka again on Saturday. When he was coming for crosses and not getting them. Elliot Anderson had to make one particularly very good defensive header to clear it away when he got nowhere near the cross. I think the players, the defenders themselves, will feel more confident with Nick Pope back in goal because he gives you that reassurance that if the ball comes through the middle or over the top, he is going to be there to sweep things up. And that's what it's all about. Dubravka, he doesn't have that in him. He doesn't have that confidence, or whether he questions his own ability, I don't know what it is. He comes, he stops, he goes again. So I'm not sure where he's at psychologically in his own game. I really don't. Howe needs to drill into the team that we need to win and nothing else is acceptable. Mark says, got everything crossed for Pope to start tomorrow. Martin says, I don't think I would trust Dubs in goal against the club he ditched us for. It's still raw in Newcastle United fans, isn't it? The fact that he went to Manchester United. Talking about the referees, Paul, Jesus Christ, no. I give up talking about referees. I just give up talking about them because it doesn't matter which referee we have. They're crap. They're crap of the highest order. And nothing is going to change that. Peter says, Paul, do you think if Pope doesn't play and Dubs plays the two games left, do you think he might consider his position at the club? No. I don't think that. I think Dubravka knows in his own heart of hearts he's leaving. I don't think Dubravka wants to be a part of this football club next season. If you believe newspaper reports and media, I'm not saying that you have to, but apparently Dubravka has made it quite clear that he's not happy with the way things are looking for his future at the football club, and he may look for a different employment next year. Listen, good luck to him. He's been a good servant to Newcastle, but is he as good as Nick Pope? Is he bollocks? He's just not. So I want to see Pope back tomorrow. Tristan says it's got to be saving players for Australia. Can't believe Kuol is going to play in that game. He's shite. Well, we haven't seen him yet. I'm going to reserve judgment on Kuol. All I know is that he's had absolutely disastrous loan spells. And I don't think he's played for... I can't remember the team he's at, but he hasn't played since November or something, since they changed the manager, which is outrageous. Baz says it's our cup final. All the champs back in the team. Pope and Trippier, hopefully. I only wish that Pope was better with his feet. Otherwise, he would be the complete keeper. Could it all be a bluff? Maybe Wilson and Isak are both available, but Eddie's playing it cool. I don't think he's playing it cool about Wilson. I think obviously he's mentioning Isak because he knows Isak wasn't at the races on Saturday because of whatever illness that he had. But if you look at the Wilson situation, I think Eddie himself is probably really frustrated that he doesn't have Callum Wilson, because he knows what Callum Wilson is capable of when he's fit. But the problem is he's very rarely bloody fit. So I understand, if Eddie's frustrated with Callum himself. It's just annoying. Pope is a must. Dubs doesn't command his box, and Pope spots players in space when he kicks. 3 times Dubs missed Hall and Gordon unmarked in the first half on Saturday. Volendam, that's where he's at, yeah. JT Toon says, aye, they are. I agree. I was just commenting on Niall calling them all muck. I was going to use stronger words. There's a lot of stronger words. Arsenal fans are so funny after Spurs reporting they have received thousands of letters begging Spurs to beat Man City. Well, I mean, did you see the incident that, going to the Man City hotel and or the apparent Man City hotel, and it turned out they were letting fireworks off at a hotel Manchester City weren't even at because they hadn't even left Manchester. Unbelievable. You couldn't write a book on it. It's just crazy. Ollie says... Oi, Paul. Thought it started at 13:30. Going back to the start. Looking forward to tonight's preview. Hey, you need to get your times right, Ollie, mate. Dubs has done his job for the team, has stepped up to a certain level, but Pope will always be better. I'm not going to deny that. I think, Dubravka's had his moments absolutely since he's come back. All right. Absolutely 100%. And you look back to the Blackburn game in the Cup, he was brilliant in that game. He was absolutely superb, made some great saves and kept us in the game. But the Premier League side of things, not for me. I think we've really, really missed him. Tristan says, I want Joe Linton in that game to help Bruno run the midfield. Not playing him will harm our season. Well, he did make a comment about Joe Linton and said that, look, he's coming back from a very, very serious injury, and he's got to be careful with him because he doesn't want to bring him back and Joe Linton not be up to speed and the team suffer because of that. And I think that's just Eddie being honest. It's a bad injury that Joe Linton's had. He doesn't want to take too many risks with that situation. So, listen, we all want Joe Linton to start. I think that is just factual that Newcastle United fans all want Joe to start. Now, he did mention Elliot Anderson as well. And he said, Elliot has come through the academy here. When I first came to the club, we were aware of him and his talents. He's really worked on all aspects of his game, and I think he's been really reliable for us. Whatever position I've used him, he's done very, very well. Tactically, I have asked him to do a couple of things that the team has needed, and he's done it very well. I'm really pleased with his level of maturity and his tactical understanding. Now, I'm pleased he's mentioned Elliot Anderson because I still see some comments coming in from fans that genuinely believe that Elliot Anderson isn't up to the grade of things. Now, if you look at the work he put in on Saturday, he helped with the goal. He also saved 2 possible goals at the other end with his defending. And, if you watch Elliot Anderson now, you can see how his game has evolved under Eddie Howe. When he first came onto the scene, obviously very raw, wasn't he? No doubt about that. But he had it there. The potential was there. but we didn't always see the best of him. But under Eddie Howe, you can see how he's improved and evolved his game, because he's helping defensively. He's playing left wing back at times. He's back in the middle of the park at times. You've got to take your hat off to Elliot Anderson, because he's listening to what Eddie Howe has to say, and he's learning all the time from his manager. And if you look at what Eddie Howe has said in his previous interviews on the overlap, things like that, he's very, very keen to work with players who show him the same respect. And 99% of the Newcastle players have certainly done that since Eddie Howe came in, and they've made sure that they are working as hard for him as he's working as hard for them. And bringing Elliot Anderson's game on has been absolutely fantastic. I'm very excited to see where Elliot can go, and I'm sure he's going to be around the squad for a very long time. Roger says, I think giving Dubes Man United loan and a fit again Pope, it's no question as to who starts tomorrow. Thomas says, I'm excited for Anderson's future at the club. Kubo would have been an excellent signing. Well, it's not in the realms of possibility that we can't bring him in. I mean, I'd love to see Kubo, 100%. Rogers, no, we've done that one. Anderson is looking really decent in my eyes. Anderson will be a future star when Bruno leaves. Let's not talk about that. Let's not even go there at the moment. Tristan says he's not. I'm sorry, he's 22 and nothing shows he's going to be a good goal scorer or a defensive mid. I'm sorry, Miley has shown stuff, but Anderson is just a tool, no future star. Tristan, I couldn't disagree with you more. I couldn't disagree with you more. Look, the reason I'm going to say this is because you look at the work Anderson did off the field in the summer. If you followed his social media accounts, he worked hard to bulk himself up. He knew he had to do that in order to be a more physical player on the pitch. And he went away and he worked his ass off. And he's come back. And I really can't believe that you don't see anything in Elliot Anderson, especially if you look at his performance on Saturday, the performance that he put in when he was wing back. This kid is, I'm not saying he's a first team starter by any stretch, you know, if we bring in certain players during the summer, but he is definitely a squad member. No doubt about that. And a squad member that will play a big part in the team next season. And I think you've been very, very harsh, Tristan, with those comments on him, because I think he's got a big, big future at the football club. You have to watch both on and off the ball and what he does with the ball. You know, setting the goal up, he's very switched on, and he's a much more physical player these days than he was before Eddie Howe came to the club. JT Toon says you can definitely see what Eddie has done with Elliot. Like he clearly understands tactical instructions, unlike a certain Paraguayan in the ranks. 100% agree. Bruno is no longer a one-man midfield with Anderson back in the team. Yeah, Chippers, I agree. I think calling him a tool is, I just think that's, I'm baffled by that, Tristan. I don't know what player you watch. I really don't. Ruffian Benissian says, Paul Anderson has improved vastly, just visually. If you look at his stats on FB Ref, has Gravenberg and Rabiot similar players to him? There you go. We'll say no more. We'll say no more. Paul Kubimanu is miles ahead of Anderson in talent and ability. I love him, but we have to look at players not a homegrown. I'm sorry, he's not a world beater. He's 22. Give him a chance. I mean, this is really the first season where we've seen a lot of Elliot Anderson, to be honest. You know, he's been in and out, and he's had he himself has had a horrible injury this season. But how can you say Kobe Manu's a better? How many times have you seen Manu? Because at the minute, yes, he's doing well. Absolutely, he's a good player. But he's only played a handful of games. It's impossible for you to say that because he's played a couple of games. He only came into Man United's side since November. And you know what the media are like. As soon as a youngster comes into the first team at Man United, they're an England star straight away. And it's a load of crap. Anyway, let's have a look. Anderson, for me, has been better than Longstaff this season. Oh, 100%. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But, you know, he was asked about Longstaff as well, Eddie, and he did about the injections that he was getting. And Eddie said he didn't know if Sean Longstaff was getting regular injections anymore. I found that a bit strange. because I would expect a manager to know if his players are still getting injections to help them through injuries, etc. But he said he didn't know. He's not privy to everything that goes on the medical side of things. That confused me a little bit, because I thought as the manager, you need to be aware of everything medical. Before you pick your side, before you pick your substitutes, you have to know who is at the races and ready to go. So I did find that one a little bit weird. Anderson is so smart, he can play anywhere on the pitch. Tristan, I don't agree with you. Wayne says, would like to see Miggy and Gordon alternating on the wings, stretch the pitch, and their pace will win the game. Man United couldn't deal with Miggy on the left in the cup. Yeah, of course, Miggy scored a great goal in that cup, but Miggy's form since then has been nothing short of drastically shite. And that's kind of putting it mildly. He's been garbage. And, you know, the thing is, Miggy, listen, if he plays tomorrow and he has one of those purple patches where he goes and scores a couple of goals, well, everybody will love Miggy again and think, oh, what a lovely lad, great smile, great runner. He's not the future. He's just not the future. And I know there's a lot of Miggy fans out there. That is fair enough. But for me, I'm speaking as a fan. It's not for me. Not for me. I think he'd be on his way. I don't see any way that Miggy gets any better than what he is right now. And what he is right now is certainly not good enough if you're wanting to take your team to an elite level. Anderson is top of midfield, back up to J7, Bruno and Tonali next season. Anderson and Miley are going to rock the Premier League in 3 to 4 years' time. I agree. You know, let's be positive about these youngsters. Why can't Anderson and Miley be part of the future? You know, they're only young at the minute. Miley, obviously, you know, he's only, 18? Anderson's 22. We've got some fantastic backup players in the squad next season who, if they were to come on for an injury or anything like that, we wouldn't be worried because we know what these players can do. Miley's had a brilliant experience this season, but it's all happened because of the injuries. I don't think Miley would have played anywhere near as many games had we had a fully fit squad this season. So, in a way, he's used that to his advantage to show Eddie Howe what he can do. And he's played Champions League games, Premier League games. We've got stars coming through. And, you know, we haven't said that for quite a long time. And I'm genuinely excited to where, you know, these players can go. New Jersey Geordie says, I saw Elliot score stoppage time brace a mile away from my apartment here in New Jersey. Whatever you think about his skill, he has guts. He will be a player for us when he gets his chance. 100% agree. Manu is overrated because he's English. I don't think he's overrated. I think it's just media hype because he plays for Manchester United. I think had Kobe Manu played for us or, you know, a Brighton or an Aston Villa, I don't think he'd be getting the same sort of media attention that he gets because he's come through at Manchester United. I think it's a very different thing when you come through at Manchester United than it is when you play for Newcastle, Villa, Brighton, or Brentford or anyone like that. Crystal Palace, for instance, because it's Manchester United and the media loving that they have with that football club, Manu is, I don't think he's overhyped, but he's rated a lot more than what they should be at the minute. Let the kid come through. Let him play a good season or two and see if he maintains that consistency. Because I think the way they talk about him at the minute is just bizarre. Manu was poor at St James's Park. He's a good player, but being developed into a defensive midfielder. Anderson is more box to box. If you look at his stats per 90, Anderson actually blows him out of the water. For me, Miggy has done what he can in a Toon shirt. I'm over the moon with him, but now it's time to move on. Yeah, look, there's a certain point where a player gets that he can't get any better. And Miggy, given his age, etc., now, I think he's come to that sort of crossroads where I think moving on will be, you know, the best bet for him. Absolutely. Cynical Jim says, you say Anderson has been way better than Longstaff, but how many goals has Longstaff scored? I don't think it's about goals, Jim. I think, you know, they're very different players for me. Very different players. Ab says, I have yet to be impressed by Anderson. I don't get it. I mean, I must be watching. I mean, I'm obviously watching different games. Joe Linton was shy for quite a while as well, Paul, and you absolutely slated him week in, week out. So why can't another player do the same as Big Joe? Exactly. You know, Joe Linton took an absolute hammering. But listen, the other players that we're talking about coming through, like Anderson, etc., they will become absolutely brilliant because of who the manager is. However, I do believe that Miggy is obviously, that can't happen with Miggy because of his age. I don't think Miggy particularly understands sometimes what Eddie Howe is asking him to do, because you look at where he positions himself on the pitch and you think he's just all over. He's like a headless chicken. Kenneth says, don't forget that Lewis Hall can play midfield too. So not bad backups, Miley, Hall and Anderson. Yeah, absolutely. You certainly wouldn't see Anderson and Miley pulling out of any tackles. And for me, that's a good place to start for any youngster in midfield. I would say that we've got to take into consideration the injury that Sean's had. Now, whether he should be playing or not, that's a different conversation. But if you're carrying an ankle injury like that, you will be careful. You're going to be. It's the body's natural reaction, isn't it? Now, on the win at Old Trafford back in November, of course, he says it was a moment where we were beginning to experience some injuries. It was a real team effort and a real team performance. That game has no relevance to this one, however. It's a new challenge, and I back the players. The players will embrace the pressure and be ready for the game. I like that fight and talk from Eddie. I absolutely love that fight and talk from Eddie. And, just to say it's up to what he's saying there, he's throwing the gauntlet down to his players as well. He's saying, look, the players have got to go out there and do the business. And that's exactly what they've got to do. They've got to go out there and get their heads down and work their asses off for the badge. And the fans that are travelling down there tomorrow. This is a big, big game for Newcastle. It's a big, big game for Manchester United. So both clubs have got something to play for. It should be a great game. But I have no doubt in my mind that if we turn up tomorrow and play the football that we all know we can play, we will beat Manchester United. They're all over the place this season. And don't let the injury situation fool you with Manchester United, because even when they've had their best players on the pitch, they've still failed to perform. They've still had a dig at Ten Hag. So for me, we're the better side. And I will stick by that. TJ Richards says, just looking at your KK photo on your shelf, and got to thinking, he must be thinking he'd just love it if we win tomorrow. Well, it's not a real photo. It's a green screen, but I do have one behind the green screen. I am changing that around in the summer, so the green screen's going to sod off kind of thing. And I'm going to have Newcastle memorabilia on shelving behind me because I think it's more natural. But what I will say is, yes, I think there's a lot of teams will be rooting, and there's a lot of pundits will be rooting for Newcastle tomorrow who've had a connection with the club. The usual idiots who shall not be named will all be Manchester United this, Manchester United that. And that's why I implore you, if you're watching the game tomorrow, turn the commentary off and listen to me and Billy commentating and watch the game with us. We'll commentate, watch it on your telly with the sound off and listen to our commentary, because I tell you something now, it'll be all Manchester United tomorrow on commentary. It'll be all about that football club. It'll all be about what Man United are doing right or Manchester United are doing wrong. They will not mention anything. If we do something really good, it'll be how Manchester United didn't let us do it, didn't perform. It will be nothing about Newcastle United being good. You can guarantee that. So, guys, please keep it civil in the chat, please. We don't want any argument. I know, look, just... if you don't agree with someone, just say it. I've just said I don't agree with Tristan, but it doesn't mean I don't want Tristan in the chat. So, I can disagree with Tristan's comments, but he's every right to have his comments. So just let's not argue with each other, especially coming up to such a big game. Michael says, I would rather listen to you and Billy than that Muppet Ferdinand who seems to be on all of our games. I mean, look... they're all for Manchester United. All the big-time Charlies at Sky and TNT, etc. They're all for Man United. They all love Manchester United. It's an establishment for them. And they think that everything in football is Manchester United. Oh, dear. Guys, Tristan may be the only view on Anderson that has said that, but that's his opinion. And everyone on this channel has a right to an opinion, but we can disagree. But don't get into arguments because of disagreements. Just say, okay, that's your opinion. Fair enough. Sure, Paul, I always listen to your commentary. I love it. Thank you very much. Man United is going to get battered. Gordon, Wilson, Isak, whoever is going to run past the Man United defense. I think, the fact that Ten Hag has said that Martinez could be back tomorrow is interesting for me, because I think he won't be up to speed. He's been out a long time, so Martinez will not be up to speed straight away. So I just think we have to get at them, rough them up, get at them, which is why I'm disappointed that Callum's not available, because if Callum was available, he loves to get in there and rough the centre-backs up. And I think you do that against Manchester United, you rough them up, they fall to pieces. They don't like the physicality. They claim they're all mighty and mighty and bigger than thou, but they're not. They don't like physicality when it's done to them. Paul, you should do a count on how many times the pundits mention Man United's injuries. As we all know, they are the side to have injuries this season. Well, I won't be listening, obviously, because I'll be doing the commentary myself. So it'd be interesting. But I guarantee you that Man United will have an excuse for Manchester United in everything they do tomorrow night. Everything, whether it be good or bad, there'll be a reason for it. So it won't be what Newcastle do tomorrow. It never ever is. I love it when you can promote your own channel and there is nothing anyone can say. You're wrong. Love it. Thank you very much. Right, now, again, going on to talk about the game, Eddie said it's a massive fixture. We are coming to the end of the season. We are desperate to do well in the game. We will do everything we can to try and win. We back the players to give the performances. We don't underestimate Manchester United. We know how tough it will be. We are under no illusions of the magnitude of this game. It's a time to enjoy the situation we are in. So, yeah, why not? Why not go into the game and just enjoy it? Play the football that we know and enjoy it. And listen, there's no bigger thing in football than going to Old Trafford for a Newcastle United fan and enjoying it and actually beating the crap out of them. That's what I want to see tomorrow. Andrew says, hey, everyone, just wanted to say that I know we overlook it, but just hit the like button as you're watching the advert to come on. We all love the content and the effort the TTR team do, so go on. Thank you very much, Andrew. Kenneth says, I would like to see more of the academy players in 5-year plans because it takes time to set it up properly. Yes, and I think that's going to be a big part of what the new director of football is going to do, because he's got a big part to play in the future of the academy, which we know the academy now hasn't been good enough for a long, long time. That is something that really has to improve. And whoever's going to be director of football, who's going to come in the next couple of weeks, they've got to be switched onto it. They've got to be 100% switched onto it and make sure that the academy is a big part of the plans, and I'm sure that will have been discussed in interviews anyway. So there's a lot of pressure on the director of football to get that side of things right as well. If we don't have a striker tomorrow, I would like to see Anderson there. He would rough them up. I think it would be Gordon, wouldn't it, if Wilson's not available. Cynical Jim says, come on, lads, I often disagree with Paul. Doesn't always mean I'm always right, neither is he. Absolutely. Me and Jim have disagreed a million times on here. But I love Jim. He's a lovely guy, and he's a member of the channel, but we don't always agree. But you never fall out, man, just because you've got different opinions. That's what football's all about. Paul says it would be nice if Newcastle batter Man United tomorrow. I've heard Cabbage Head is interested in the job. Only joking. Yep, Choppy, thank you very much, buddy. I did read that Bruce is actually interested in going back to Birmingham City, where he probably, dare I say it, had probably some better moments as manager than he has at other clubs. I know he was all right at Hull, but oh dear, I'm saying he's all right. My God, no, take that back, zip it. I do absolutely love the commentary, even when it's not on UK TV. I still play both NUFC TV and TTR now. Thank you very much. If we're totally honest and face facts, as much as it pains to say, the team in red always seems to edge it and have better squad depth and better quality players. Not at the minute they don't. Not at the minute they don't. I think if you look at the injuries they've had, they haven't had the squad depth. And I think that's a big worry for Manchester United fans, is the fact that they don't have the depth that they thought they had. And maybe that's a learning curve for us as well this season, because we haven't had the depth that we maybe thought we had going into this season. And I think teams will learn, but I genuinely don't think Manchester United have the depth anymore. They've got a lot of rebuilding to do. And obviously that will start for them in the summer as well. The thing I'm most worried about is how putting a completely random formation that the team can't play in. I've got full trust, absolute full trust in Eddie Howe tomorrow. I really do. Whatever that team he picks, whatever comes out, I'm 100% backing him. I'm not going to complain about the team unless Nick Pope's not there. That's the only complaint I will have if Nick Pope doesn't start the game. However, I truly believe Eddie will have planned for this game for a while now, because he knows how important it was going to be. It was always going to be an important game when this was rearranged. This was always going to be the big one for me. And I think Eddie's had that in his mind now. But I think Isak will start. But we'll talk about that all on the preview show tonight. Don't forget, 7 o'clock with me, Billy, and Sam. Alex, of course, having one last day of his holiday, so he will be back soon. But the three of us will be back tonight at 7, so don't miss that. And obviously, I want to know what you think the team lineup will be, the score predictions, etc., all tonight on the preview. But thank you very much for watching the show this afternoon. Nearly 600 in, which is fantastic for a midday, well, early afternoon show. Thank you so much. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you haven't already before you leave the stream, and subscribe if you're new, and enjoy the rest of your day, folks. Thank you for your viewing today. Mods, thank you very much, and we will see you all again at 7 o'clock tonight. In the meantime, have a fab day. Take care.
Come back and check out some green.